you want some water?
No.
Hey, Periscope. Going to say a quick hello to you. We're going to keep the dual stream going up there. Hi, everybody. Just checking to see that we're up on Facebook Live. Looks like we're good to go. We're mic'd up. Can you guys let us know if you can hear us okay? Periscope, you'll be fine. Facebook, somebody let us know if you can hear us okay. Let me just change the frame. Hold on one sec here. There we go. Hi. Can you guys hear us okay? I'll wait for a signal since this is our first one back. Just want to make sure everything's working okay. Facebook, hi Amy, hi Caroline, who else do we have? Christina. Okay, Deb, thank you. Hi Keely. All right, we're good to go. Well, welcome back to our weekly broadcast. A new name for the show called Whole Fit Talks. Super excited to be back and have my handsome, hilarious Chris Peters, Mr. Whole Fit, in the house today. He's off work today, so he's going to be joining the broadcast whenever it works out for him to be on. Some of you that saw us in Utah a couple weeks ago, he looks a little bit better now, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
We went to a 70s party and let's just say you extremely...
I was gross.
Grossed me out.
I was gross. I grossed everyone out. I grossed my wife out, more importantly, exactly the intention I wanted that day. So. Right.
Well, you nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, so we're back for this Wednesday broadcast, and this was a Q&A that I began almost 2 years ago, actually. So today we're streaming, and this will be the new way going forward, okay? We're streaming on the Whole Fit brand page. So that is accessible to all people. So if you have some friends that are interested in natural living, alternative health, essential oils, building their own business in an abundant way, being a mom, having harmony in the home, any of those topics, leadership, we talk about that every week in some way. Tag a friend over on the Facebook page. I see a lot of you. We've got about 100 people watching live right now there. So it is open and accessible to everybody. But brand new is this show available in podcast form. So if you want to hop over to iTunes, if that's your preference to be able to listen to these broadcasts after they've streamed live, they'll be uploaded within that current week. And that way you don't need to have a Wi-Fi connection. So if you're like me and you like to go out for a run most days and listen to a podcast, that's a great way for you to tune into the show. Just like we've always done, we will do a couple of questions every broadcast. I will do some episodes where we will kind of clean up the question queue and do 5 to 7 questions. But typically on this show, after we jam for about 20 minutes, we'll take 2 to 3 questions, and you can add your question for an upcoming broadcast. My assistant Jill, she'll be posting links for you guys. She'll add the link for where you can add your question to the queue. And we will answer all questions in the order that they come. So we'll take a couple at the end. So we're back. We're just getting back into our groove. We were in Utah a couple weeks ago, came back from the annual convention that doTERRA puts on every year in the fall. There were at least 35,000 people there live, with another 10 to 20,000 streaming into this convention. So it's a pretty big deal. It's the largest event in the natural health world that Utah puts on every year, which is kind of like the mecca for different companies to come in and host their conventions. So there was a ton of incredible information shared during those 3 days that we were there. A lot of new products that were launched that are creating a ton of buzz. There were some specific oils such as Rose in the touch roller bottle form. Rose, for example, is the highest vibration of all essential oils. It is going to be a game changer to have in your toolkit at home to use for most things, like we often would use frankincense. There was also an oil launched called Copaiba, and if you look up the research on it, you will find it is one of the most supportive oils to all the body systems. It has the ability to interact and communicate with the endocannabinoid system in the body. So I personally will not be making comparisons between this oil and things like CBD or marijuana, but what you need to know is both of those things also interact with the endocannabinoid system. So this presents a very interesting new way to use the power of essential oils. So those were just a couple of the products that we were super pumped to learn about. But what we wanted to open up the broadcast with today, and I want to hear what your biggest takeaway was from that week too as we go, because Chris, you don't come to all the events.
No, I mean, I think demographically and with kids and everything else, I don't always get the chance to. And truth be told, not everything's for me as well. There's certain things that I definitely want to go to, and I need to go. Other things that Ange has to go to and doesn't necessarily need me. And I'd rather, honestly, truthfully, just stay home with the kids and do our thing here.
And it's how we find our groove.
Yeah, just to keep the home life stable. And I don't feel like I need to be at everything and go everywhere just to, sort of show the flag. This is Ange's deal. It's her passion. And I'm just here to kind of support whatever she needs. And if that's staying home and watching the kids and making the meals or whatever, that's what I'll do. Like I said, I don't feel like I need to go to everything, but this convention is always definitely one that I'll never miss. And oddly enough, this was my third convention, and without sounding like that cliche guy, the third time was absolutely a charm for me. It was definitely, again, opened my eyes to what the company is doing. The first time I went, I can honestly say that it was an eye-opener. I wasn't sure what to expect. I was truthfully kind of honestly expecting to see a lot of, we're number one, look how great we are a company that is never going to fail, we are perfect, you guys are all perfect, and let's all get in one big circle and give a great big group hug, which again, after my first year, wasn't what I saw. But again, if I'm being honest here, I spent probably I'd say 65% of the time at the convention. The other percent, my math is horrible, was basically walking around the street. Yeah, I was walking around the streets of Utah looking for a place to get my hair cut and find white pants for anyone who remembers the white party. That was pretty much my intention my first year. My second year, I definitely got my eyes open to what was going on, and we can get into that later. And my third year this year was amazing, and I can, again, elaborate on that as we go on here. Yeah.
Before I go into my thoughts on this year's event, and just to let you guys know, this weekly show is not a doTERRA show, but I want you to know it attracts a lot of doTERRA people. Just on our team alone, we have 40,000 people across the globe. So considering that in doTERRA, there are over 5 million wellness advocates and customers all over the world, a lot of people in the online space love to come hang out on this weekly show, because we talk about natural health and alternative living and leadership and building a doTERRA business and things like that. But at the core of this conversation is really the real work that we do, which is oils and love and leadership. It's really, it's all connected. So whether you're in doTERRA or not, I promise you will find value through this show. But we do want to, with the timing of this broadcast and just being home from convention, we wanted to spend time at the beginning of this first episode back talking about our takeaways and what we are feeling from that event, because it was incredible. So I want to hear, Dave, what was your top takeaway or impression?
Well, just quickly, one of the first things, and since we've gotten back, I always say to this to people, it was that one of the very first things that I noticed about this year and the previous years as well was I never heard anyone get up on stage or anyone from doTERRA mention anything about the words money, monetary value, success with money. There was none of that. So for anyone who had this idea that this is a multi-level marketing company and this is all about making money and everything else, that's the very first thing I always noticed about these conventions. The word wasn't used once. There was no pomp, there's no circumstance, there was no feeling of, look, if you get this, you'll get this. And there was no trying to sell people on get into doTERRA now. because we can make you money and we can make you have the life that you want with money. Oh, and by the way, you can have these oils as well and do whatever you want with them, but just make sure that you get money and you get rich. There was not one instance that I heard any talk about monetary value or a feeling of you need to do this because guess what? You're going to get rich. The other thing that, again, we might touch on this again is I like to walk around the convention and I ran into a lot of people, and unfortunately for myself, I wasn't really used to the attention, but because of who's sitting to my right or your left, they sort of knew me through online and everything else. And one of the biggest—
Are you kidding? You're like way bigger deal than I am now. Yeah. You're like, this will be the most downloaded episode because you're on.
Maybe not after this episode because I'm staring into 3 different cameras here and I don't know where to look. I have no sense of style or no sense of presence. Anyways, one of the other things that when I was walking around, I found that in just talking with people, and people would come up to me and recognize me, and it was awesome. I loved talking to everyone. Was the sense of one of the main questions I always had was, how do you guys do it? How does Ange get to where she is? And how do you have the attitude to support your wife like that? And that was one of the biggest questions right off the bat, because let's be honest, it was about, I would say, 90% women that I talked to there at the convention. It was a very good sense of community there, but it was mostly women. Again, being honest, it was mostly women. And that was one of the biggest questions I had from everyone was, you know, how are you so supportive of your wife? What did you do to support your wife? And I don't know if you want to, like you asked me what were the 2 takeaways that I personally got from convention. And those were the 2 biggest things that always stuck out in my mind. When we were flying back on the airplane, I remember I had said that to you, that those are the 2 biggest things that really stood out in my mind. So
I guess just your point here is like how much of a concern or question that is out there, is how to navigate this as a unit and support each other, right?
Yeah, I think the assumption has always been that you and I from day one were like, all right, let's get into this together and we're going to do it, which, I mean, was not the case. It was, again, it was just one of those things where you had found your way, and me being me, very laid back. If anyone knows me, I've always had trust in Ange, no matter what she's done since I've known her since she was 9.
Why is that though?
Well, I think one of the big things is you and I have been together for so long, and you've never ever wavered down a path of like, well, you know, well, what are you doing? Like, why would you do that? That stove's hot. Why are you going to touch that? You've never had that attitude, and everything you've put your mind to and everything that you've done has always worked out, whether it be, you know, picking colors for a room that I don't agree with, or getting into the business itself. But again, back to my point that I was trying to make was that it was one of those things where we were never discussed this. We never made this a goal to get into the doTERRA. You just one day said, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm going to make a go of it. And I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. I'll just, I'll look after the kids and you do what you need to do. Right.
But can we rewind about 8 years?
Yeah.
So this was like a muscle that was built between us that wasn't always this way.
No, absolutely not.
I remember before we had our first daughter, Chloe, who is now about 8.5, I had just left a corporate job I had been with for over 10 years. I was making good income, like about 6 figures a year. There's a lot of work, a lot of travel. I was misaligned because I'm a very passionate, purpose-driven person when I believe in something, and that was missing for me in that work. And so when we were going to have our first daughter, Chloe, and I had the opportunity here in Canada to take a 1-year maternity leave, that is when I decided to start Whole Fit, the brand, which at that point was basically me blogging and starting to build a community and interact with people similar to myself that I felt I could connect with initially, but also guide as I was learning things. And that's what we do. We're all teachers and students at the same time, right? But back then, there were a lot of conversations that we would have where you were just trying to understand why. And if I didn't believe so much in what I was going to do, I probably would have had a hard time getting you to trust my vision for what I wanted to create. And, you know, there were nights where I'd stay up really late at night writing blog posts. I would create a ton of content for free, like tons, like everything I did for the first couple of years of my business was just like value, value, value. And to be honest, I'm still a lot of that person where I believe that we find our people through the value that we create for others, and that we find value. The only reason you're here on this broadcast is because you feel a sense of value by being here. And I was creating this, but I had to have a high belief in why I was doing what I was doing to just help you in supporting me. If I was wafty and saying, I'm going to try this, and then 2 weeks later I'm on to the next thing, or I'm like a hopper between opportunities. We all know these people, right? Mm-hmm. They do something for like 3 months, and the second it gets hard, they're on to the next thing. If that was my style, it would get harder and harder and harder for me to get support from you and have you be on board with me. Right?
Yeah, and I had a hard time like seeing a vision of what was going on, because it partly was because I had really was way back and I didn't understand this whole blogging thing. And the other thing was, again, and I'm sure everyone who has asked me this question will know exactly what I'm talking about, was, well, what are you doing to make money for this family? Right. What are you doing to make, why are you doing this for free? Like, it's not bringing any income in, and it's not bringing any source of anything in our life. It just seems like you're giving away stuff out for free. Mm-hmm. And again, it goes back to my point that from the beginning, everyone tends to think that we had this, like, we're in this together attitude, which was clearly not the case. I just had a very hard time of seeing what you were doing. And you asked me the question of what changed. To be honest with you, it was just, I knew that you've always had that straightforward vision of what you were going to do was going to work. And I just let you run with it. And it's honestly just simple as that. And from that day, you know, we've all had our bumps in the road and everything else. Again, it's not about this perfect world of, yep, let's do it, and it worked out well. Like, we've had a lot of bumps and bruises along the way in this business, and which I'm sure we will talk about.
Which are actually the best thing ever that can happen to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, your perspective on this is so important for so many people listening, because you don't have that right out of the gate. But what you do need to cultivate is a very high belief in what your heart is telling you is your next move. And, you know, you have to spend time knowing, you know, who are you? What are you here to really impact? I mean, I realized that my whole life teed me up to do the work I'm doing now. I as a little girl, my heart was shaped around being a part of the reason that people could live healthier and happier lives, and that families could live longer lives together, because I lost that. And so that was imprinted on my heart at a very young age. And so I was kind of like trying to find my way. And then when doTERRA came into my life, at that point I was in the health space for about 5 years working with people. But when I found doTERRA, it was like, oh, this is it. I felt like I had come home. Like, I knew, and for me, it's, doTERRA is not my life story. If anything, I'm just getting started, but it has been the way and the catalyst. Yeah, that's a great word. It has been the way, and it will always be the way, because I believe so much in what they're doing. So let me segue into my thoughts real quick, and we'll hop into questions at 12:30. So I left convention feeling kind of like I did when I was 8.5 months pregnant. I was thinking about what I was feeling when I came home, and that was the best analogy I could come up with, where when you become a mom for the first time through pregnancy, you go through these months preparing for this baby that's about to be birthed, and you know, it feels scary. You're trying different things. You're trying to be healthier. You're setting the stage for this next season. And so I was thinking about the next season and the vision that doTERRA has. And I mean, yes, they are the largest essential oil company in the world, like by far. And because of what they've created, because of what they've put in place, they will likely be the only essential oil company in the world in a couple of years. I don't even feel bold saying that, because sustainability matters, and sourcing matters. And there's no other company doing what doTERRA is doing. So they have really secured the foundation for the next level to happen. And I'm going to talk about what that next level is. So what you need to know about doTERRA, I mean, I know there are people on this broadcast who maybe haven't even heard of doTERRA before, but they will be the company, one of, if not the company, that will completely change the landscape of healthcare over the next 5 to 10 years. And that is their vision. And a lot of the convention, it was a lot of science, it was a lot of research this year. They welcomed a lot of physician and practitioner presence to basically illustrate the vision that is in place. And here's the thing with a vision, and when a company shares a vision, when a company is as innovative as doTERRA is, they would not be talking about things if they didn't believe it was actually possible. And so if we just peel back the layers for a second to understand, like if you think about our healthcare system right now, I'm sure many of you can acknowledge that it is a very broken system. We're in Canada, but I mean, we're right behind the US. It is such a broken system for many different reasons I'll go into in a second. But doTERRA is really the only company that is in the position to impact, and we're hearing the word disrupt quite a bit. They are the only company in a position to be able to properly impact the healthcare system as we know it today for this one single reason. They are entirely customer focused. So what Chris shared about the convention and how it's not this like, oh, this is a big recruiting event and come and do the business. No. doTERRA is all about taking care of each other and that human experience and providing people the tools to be able to navigate and walk out a healthier and happier life. And so because that's their focus, and because they are, patient focused in that sense, they're going to completely change the healthcare system without the healthcare system even seeing the change coming. One of my favorite illustrations of this that they shared was the David and Goliath example, where basically, if you think about the system as we know it today, as broken as it is, it's like Goliath. Okay, and doTERRA is going to come and hit the system right between the eyes before they even see it coming, because it's the only way to do this, right? It can't be done any other way. It's the reason, when I look at the growth that's happened even on our team, 40,000 people across the world in 3 years. How does that happen? It doesn't happen because you ever hear me talking about a business opportunity. It happens because we focus on people. We focus on taking care of each other. It starts here. We get our little oil kit and we start to become healthier and happier in our own homes. And then that starts to have a ripple effect on other people. And that is why this becomes the most joyous business on the planet, because when you are focused on healing first and then teaching and offering that to other people, it's this complete full cycle of abundance. And this is what's spreading across the globe. And there is no other company doing this. There is not another company in the healthcare space doing this that can have the impact. So I left convention feeling like this isn't a conversation about, I don't think doTERRA could do it, or what's the hidden agenda here? That conversation is becoming more and more boring. This is actually, I see it as a responsibility of doTERRA to continue to honor the vision that they see and what's possible. And it's a great lesson for all of us, coming back to what we were talking about at the beginning. It is our responsibility to our purpose and the work we're here to do, to follow our heart and follow where we are being led next. And this is the next level for doTERRA. So doTERRA, just so you know, just so we're clear here, doTERRA and why I'm so grateful to be partnered with them is that they're not in the same sandbox as any other essential oil company, like at all. So there's no other essential oil company that is a competition for doTERRA, because their actual competitor is the complete system as it is right now. Because they're not looking at what other essential oil companies are doing. You'll notice this year, almost everything that they launched was an essential oil. Whereas if you look at other companies, they're launching everything but. Or you're seeing other companies who are in other product categories like skincare or protein powder, and they're all starting their own essential oil line because they're trying to do what doTERRA is doing. Pay attention to that. The other companies are basically broadcasting their weaknesses right now, because they need to stay out of this space. Because when you look at the sourcing, so doTERRA has the co-impact sourcing model. Go to source2u.com. We'll link that up in the show notes so you can read more about why it is so important to this vision of changing healthcare. The sourcing is so important, and doTERRA purchases from 46 different countries around the world. Most of them are developing nations. They do this because when a plant is growing in its native area, you now have the perfect constituent profile to support your body in the best way. So the oils work. Nobody else is doing the quality testing that doTERRA does. They do, I mean, if you go to Source2, you'll see all the testing, the organoleptic testing, the GCMS testing, FTIR, chirality, isotopic. It goes through so many levels of testing after it comes from that native area to make sure that what you get in the bottle is going to do what it should be doing and what it's saying. And this is why it's a little cheesy that all these other companies are launching essential oils right now, because without that proper sourcing, you don't have a product that works. What is the point? I think about like 10 years ago when I was starting to really get into health stuff, and tools and products and ingredients and all these things. And I used to spend so much money on like superfoods and all these things, right, to make these recipes that were supposed to be so next level. I spent so much money on supplements and everything, just trying to tap into a routine that really worked. And the thing with doTERRA's oils is they work so well. They take you to that next level of health so quickly that you just hope you don't lose people on the power of essential oils who go to these other companies that are launching these lines of oils, just trying to tap into that. So the next move for doTERRA and what they clarified at convention was their response to helping to fix the healthcare system. And one of their goals is to open up integrative health clinics all across the US. They have a goal of opening up 7 every quarter. And this will happen initially in the US and will eventually come to Canada next. They're going to walk this out there first. But these integrative clinics are going to be so innovative. They're going to have medical providers and physicians that work right in-house, but it's going to be the perfect blend of all the modalities of Eastern and Western medicine. So picture these clinics being open all across the US initially, where you can go and access all of the holistic approaches to supporting your body's health under the guidance of physicians who are recommending the oils in a safe way. Because I think this is honestly the largest barrier of entry right now for the next phase of people. They fear so big, their fear is so big around taking their health into their own hands, because they're so used to being good girls and boys with their doctors, okay? We're so used to this system of going to our doctor for everything and giving our power away. This is the next wave of people. They will start using essential oils only because their doctor is actually recommending them and how to use them safely. And so there was a physicians panel at convention, which was so interesting. One of the things shared was that something has hit mainstream when it is now a continuing education credit for doctors. And essential oil education is now that. So one of the other bold statements, I loved it, but one of the physicians on the panel said, if you are a physician or a practitioner today and you are not educating yourself on the efficacy of essential oils for your patients, you are being negligent. You are actually being negligent to the research, the science, and all the ways that essential oils can actually benefit your client. And I just super love that, because what the physicians are looking for, and a lot of physicians are never going to be the ones that you actually purchase doTERRA to. They will make recommendations of people in the area that you can get connected with. But what they're hoping through the next 5 to 10 years is that we as wellness advocates out there sharing the oils ramp it up so that when they start to talk about this with their patients aren't so taken back, like, well, what's an essential oil? The preliminary education needs to keep happening. And so that was their ask of everybody sharing doTERRA, is keep it up. because these clinics are going to start opening very quickly. And the vision is so beautiful, and it's going to be a much more affordable way for people to get access to health in a real way. So I love the direction this is going, and what this means for any one of you who are sharing the oils right now. You know, dial it up, because I often have people come and say, oh, it's like, maybe you're feeling led to do this business and you think, oh, it's saturated, or I should have done this like 2 years ago, like it's too late. Do you have any idea how this is like not even close to just getting started? If we look at a numbers perspective, in Canada and the US, less than 1% of people are using doTERRA right now. So when you contemplate that doTERRA is the only brand that physicians and doctors and hospitals are going to start talking about over the next 10 years, because they can trust the quality. The research is duplicated all the time. So whether you're looking at, Johns Hopkins doing research, they chose doTERRA because they knew they could duplicate the research over and over and have repeatable results and really get good quality research from it. When you think about all this happening, think about what that means. Like, even in 10 years, it's not going to be to the point of saturation. So I think that what you need to consider is, if you are somebody who's in the natural health space, if you have a heart for helping people with their health, you need to look at doTERRA as an important piece of the work you're doing, because it's going to completely change the conversation over the next decade. So you can find more info. We'll link it up in the show notes, but if you go to healthcare.doterra.com, you can add your request for your city to be one of the first to have these integrative health clinics opened up in. And there's more information on that. There's more stats you can read if you're questioning, are we really in a broken system? You'll kind of get an idea of where it's at right now and where it needs to go. So there's a huge shift happening in our world, and I love that it's the people who are living it first and out there sharing that are impacting this massive shift to happen. And it's irrelevant whether somebody thinks this change is going to keep happening or not. It's irrelevant if you're somebody not wanting to use something like doTERRA essential oils because you think it's all about an MLM. That conversation is irrelevant at this point, because real change is actually happening and coming. And it becomes a problem if you're somebody thinking that about doTERRA, when there are over 5 million people walking out a healthier and happier life right now because of these oils. So your fear is irrelevant to the main conversation, if that makes sense. So now's the time to dial it up, guys. Take your self-care to the next level. Have those conversations with people who have a heart for helping others. In our business, the people that do the best in terms of leading and attracting people and building a business that matters, it's people who are passionate about anything in life. Passionate moms that really care about, being the health advocate in their home. If you're passionate about anything, and what I mean is you want to really make a difference in that area, you will do so well here. So that's just one thing that I always look for. Any other comments before we go to questions? No, I think that you nailed it. You wanted to talk about, what was new with convention and everything else. I mean, yeah, you pretty much nailed it. Let's take some questions. Again, I got to preface this by saying, guys, that I'm here with Ange. This is something that we decided to do at convention, right? Because of everything that we were talking about. But you know what? People really love your perspective. Yeah, I know. For the longest time here, I just hope no one sees me sitting here like a dope looking into the camera. But I can offer a lot of perspective on different things. So, I just hope that, like I said, I can offer something else other than, the actual business of doing this. You know what? We both have a different perspective on questions and leadership and what it means to life in general. So yeah, let's go. Yeah. Let's go at it. So just so you guys know, we have a question queue. So if you have a question you want to be answered on an upcoming broadcast, we've got the link posted in the thread. So let's take 3 questions today. We'll take the ones right off the top. While I'm pulling those up, I wanted to let you know that just at the end of the broadcast, we'll talk about a few events we're going to be at and an opportunity to win one of 3 Whole Fit Oils kits through sharing your review on iTunes just for the month of September. So I'll talk about that right at the end of the broadcast. So if you have to hop out, come back and listen to that for sure. Okay, so we're going to take the first 3 questions. I won't read out the names of the people that submitted, so don't worry, even though I get your name and email, just for further follow-up if it requires that. You will be left anonymous for the show. Okay, so Q1, when your upline is super close and a dear friend, but is very involved in your team, how do you find your own voice and team culture and be the main resource for your team while letting your upline take a step back and know that you've got this? At what point or rank do you put energy into creating your own team culture rather than your upline pushing theirs? So the parallel of this question to people that aren't building a business in doTERRA would be, how do you finally kind of break away from the mold and build what's on your heart, right? So maybe this would be for you if you're an entrepreneur and you're always looking at what other people are doing and trying to duplicate that, when you know you've got an idea that it's time to birth, okay? So do you want to add your thoughts first?
Well, I have a fairly easy answer to that is do what you're feeling at the moment. If you're feeling that it's time to break out, then it's time to break out and do your own thing. If you're feeling that you're going to hurt someone's feelings by doing that, you're not, because that person ahead of you had to do the same thing as well. So if they're a good leader and they understand what you're doing, they're going to totally understand what you're doing, and you need to find your own voice. It's almost as if this question, you're asking permission to do something that you already know you need to do. And if you're asking this question at this point in your life, then you've made up your mind that you need to break off and do your own thing.
You're ready.
Yeah, you're ready to do it. So, you know, do your research, find your voice, and break off and do it. You know, you don't have to ask permission in this life to do anything if you're an adult.
Amen, right?
Exactly. So, you know, and like I said, if the person above you, they'll understand, because at some point in their life or their business, they had to do the same thing. And yeah, just do it. It's, I sound like a Nike slogan.
Just do it. It's the best slogan ever.
I'm a big 90s fan, so you'll find out through all this stuff, there'll be a lot of those quotes. But yeah, Ange?
Yeah, so my thoughts, I agree with that. The very fact you're asking this question means you're ready. So if one of your concerns, like Chris said, is hurting your upline's feelings, because you're telling them like, okay, I'm ready, I've got this. If you were to hurt their feelings, it's because they actually need you to model what this looks like for them. If they have any kind of apprehension or fear or negativity towards you branching off and doing this, that is their way of playing small, and they're trying to keep you there, okay? So you will, over time and with love, you will teach them what it looks like to branch off and go on your own. So be the one that inspires that in your upline, because they obviously haven't done that. I love it when my leaders do that, as long as it's, you know, as long as they're ready for it, you know, and it's not an ego-driven thing where they come in the beginning and they don't want to learn. They want to just do their own thing right away, because it's like being a parent when I see that. Obviously, I'm still going to love on them, but I know it's going to come back and harm their business if they do it too quickly. So is there a certain time for this? I mean, honestly, I think the best time to be doing something like that and branching off and, you know, really building the framework for your own culture would be around silver rank, because by then you've likely attracted a couple of leaders to your team, which means that you are somebody who is casting a vision that others want to be a part of. So and to be honest, if you're doing it before that, then you're probably not focusing on the right things, because you need to just do the things that are going to be bringing income and flow into your business, and that's going to be sharing the oils and teaching classes and educating them. And then once you have this great little community there, it's time to consider what you're feeling right now. So, hey, go do it.
This is a well thought out question. It's very well worded. Whoever's asking this question, it's time to move on and do your thing now, because it's clearly it's clearly something you want to do, and it's almost as if, again, they go back to it, you're asking permission. You don't need permission. Go for it and do the best that you can at it. And if you run into a speed bump, there's no problem going back to that person and saying, I need your help.
Totally. Okay, so second question. I would love to know more about your weekly routine. I've heard you talk about Sunday rituals with self-care. I would love to hear about how you schedule your week for success with kids. Okay. Well, my initial thought is we purposely don't cram our schedule with lots of things. We don't have our kids in sports and music and dance and creatives and, you know, all the things, because I think that having a foundation and a consistent schedule as best as you can for your kids is super important to their growth and their confidence. Yeah. So we don't pack our schedule in terms of, you know, what we actually do with the kids and what our rituals are. I mean, I'm trying to get to the heart of what you're asking, whether it's how we are raising our girls with your teens, or you also mentioned self-care. So self-care to me really means creating boundaries around what's most important. So something that I'm continuously challenging myself on is to become very efficient with my time, asking for help when I need it, so that I can honor what I've set aside as time for the work and time with the kids and time with Chris. And I have flunked this for years. Yeah. That's been my challenge.
Yeah, it's been a tough go for sure. It's, you know, it's saying one thing and doing another thing, and there's been a lot of saying one thing but not a lot of doing one thing. But it's definitely been a trial and error for us, and we're still working on it. Again, we are always working on this. And when you talk about weekly routines, we don't have a weekly routine. Either one of us.
We have a few things we do, like on the weekends, like Sundays is just like a home day together. We always have a good dinner around the table on Sunday nights. Yeah. That's when I will order my groceries for the week. I'll plan the meals we're going to be having for the week. Like you mentioned, that's when they'll have like a really good bath and I'll wash their hair and all that stuff. Like we kind of just dial it up on Sundays that way as a home. But here's my advice here, and this will be helpful for you. When you have a really great day, blueprint it. Think about what went really well for you that day. Why was it such a great day? Why did it feel so joyful and successful? And then integrate that into more of your everydays. So it's a constantly tweaking thing, but pay attention to when things are not going well and why, and when they do go well. And getting back to my boundary focus, the days when I feel the most successful are when I'm not trying to multitask and hop around and do all these things, but it's when I have a really great work day where I do what I said I was going to do, and then the kids come home. Often I've had a workout in there too. The kids come home from school and I just feel like I can really be with them. That's a great day in my mind. So I'm always tweaking, trying to create more of that. Okay, third question. Would you always give away an enrollment if it helped your leader advance and you? What if the leader you have to give is building faster? So this question is about, you know, when you enroll someone in doTERRA and you place them on your team somewhere, when is the right timing for you to give that person over to someone else to help that other person grow? I'm going to encourage you to rarely give away your enrollments. And this is why. As you're growing your wellness business in doTERRA, there will be people that say they're going to do a lot, but don't. And there will be people that will surprise you in the best way. People that, you know, have 5 kids and they just are so good with managing their time, and they build this massive business, and you didn't think that's even what they wanted to do. So you just don't know until you see what somebody is actually taking action on and willing to put into their business. And you don't want to make these decisions too early in the game. I personally now never transfer enrollments over. I have, you know, from time to time over the last couple of months, when somebody has a really great working relationship with somebody on the team and they've hit silver already. I don't transfer anyone until they've hit silver rank, because I know by that point they've really shown themselves and who they are as a leader. So sometimes I can see how their partnership with somebody else on my team will be awesome for both people. But in the beginning, when I was building my business, I gave a lot of my people over to other leaders, and there were a few times where that was a really bad decision, because the person that I gave them over to basically just like quit on themselves and was not supporting their team and not the great leader that they said they were going to be. Okay, so when people show you who they are in your business, trust them. If they're taking action and they're growing, that might be somebody you consider doing this with, but you want to wait as long as possible. Because in doTERRA, it doesn't matter if you have somebody on your front line or on your 8th level and you own enrollment of them, they can be one of your main partners that you build this business with, and they can't be that for you if you give enrollment away. Okay, so we're going to wrap up the show right now. Like I said, we'll take 3 questions every week approximately from the queue. But for those of you that are on live, if you've got any last comments or questions that you want to just post into the thread or over on Periscope, we can take a couple real super fast ones. But I wanted to let you guys know of a couple of things coming up. So we're going to be heading out to Kelowna, BC on October 17th. We'll be there for 3 days, just kind of doing the tourist thing and connecting with anybody who wants to learn more about doTERRA. We can meet up and have some delicious coffees or whatever. We'll check out a few of the gyms there. So if you know anyone in Kelowna, let us know if there's somebody that we need to meet while we're there. So that's for the doTERRA post-convention tour. There's also going to be a post-convention tour in Toronto next week, September 27th. And then back home where we live in London, Ontario, October 27th, we're going to be having a post-convention tour there. Last thing I was going to mention was, if you guys would love to play the giveaway game, we would love for you to hop over to iTunes, find the Whole Fit Talks podcast, give it a download, see if that's your style, and leave a review. Leave a review on iTunes, because at the end of September, we're going to pop all the reviews into a giveaway bag and give away 3 Whole Fit oil kits, which are basically what's known as the doTERRA Athletes Kit. So the top 5 oils and blends, and then the deep blue rub in a nice carry bag. So hop over there if you have time this week. Leave us a review. Let us know. I mean, maybe you've been following this broadcast for the last year and a half, and let us know why you like it and what we can keep doing more of. Hey, I would love for you to join more often this year.
I'll be here more often for sure. As long as I'm not working that day, I'll be here.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, you guys. How are we doing? Everyone over on Facebook? A lot of people on live today. We've had about 300 coming in and out. But now see, you're so loved. Yeah. I mean, because I think the weeks that Chris is able to join, that's a great week to share with people in your house. Ashley says yes, more Chris, less Ange.
Yeah, I'll give you that money.
That's funny. Yeah, those would be great. These would be great episodes for you to share with anyone in your house. When you're wanting to have some of those conversations around just the trust and support you're looking for. Hey, Carrie, the post-convention tours that doTERRA runs, so there's about 100 of them happening over the next month and a bit, all across North America. And they basically take the 3 days of convention and drill it down into a really packed 2-hour event. They're free, okay? So honestly, if you have an interest in wellness, mostly as somebody who just wants to live a healthier life, you should go out to one of these events because they're free. But if you're somebody who wants to understand this movement and maybe you feel, maybe you're feeling led to be a part of it and be a leader in a very important health movement, then you should definitely go. So go to doTERRA.com. Again, we'll link those up in the show notes, and you can find, they're basically happening in every major city. I know in some areas like in Canada, we're having some in areas where doTERRA doesn't have a presence really yet. So that would be like Kelowna and Sudbury. So there's a lot of these events happening. So go check those out for sure. Just scrolling here really fast, these last few comments. All right. So good to be on with you guys, and stay tuned for the podcast being available on iTunes. That'll be uploaded this weekend. Just need to do some editing and pick an intro song and all that fun stuff. But anyway, mwah.
All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.
See you next week. I'm gonna close.